Yesterday, I left Castlebar at 6:30 in the morning in order to be outside the criminal courts of justice by 10 o'clock because I wanted to put some questions to Seamus Banty McEnaney regarding a case he was due to give evidence in. The case involves a man named Feargal Deery, who was accused of breaching a court order prohibiting him from going near any properties owned by Seamus McEnaney. There are serious question marks, however, in relation to the ownership of this property. Unfortunately, I didn't get to speak with McEnaney because he was granted VIP treatment by the Gardaí, allowing him to enter the building via the side entrance. What you're about to watch is an interview I recorded with Feargal Deery live from Cloverhill prison just before Christmas gone. They're attempting to put Feargal back in prison. His next date in the CCJ is the 23rd of June. Please put that date in your diary. Here's the interview. I'm here today speaking with Feargal Deery, who is in Cloverhill prison, and he's going to be spending Christmas in Cloverhill prison. Feargal, tell us in total how long you've been in prison over the years.
At this stage, I've done, over the course of 8 visits, I've completed approximately 3 full 36-month stint in prison. The longest the longest was 23 months or thereabouts, and the shortest stint was 4 days.
So first of all, I want to let people know what this is all about and where it goes back to. Now, you had a successful business in Monaghan town, Master Deary's. It was a lovely pub there, and at some point you decided to build on a nightclub called the Junction Nightclub, just as part of that building. We're outside Master Deary's pub here.
And the Junction Nightclub, which is on the lower end of McCahey's bar there, the small little pub with the brown front. Master Deary's extends to approximately 8,000 square feet. The Junction building extends to somewhere in the region of 25,000 square feet. So folks, we're just making our way now into the property. Now, so folks, now we're just moving into the front bar area here. Many a good soul has passed through these doors on a Saturday evening from this time on. From 2002 until their illegal eviction on the 13th of May 2013. We had been negotiating with AIB. There were 4 years of meetings, 4 years of letters, projections, business plans.
AIB had forwarded funding in relation to the Junction Nightclub. They gave us 1.9 approximately million of a 2.5 million sanction letter, and that sanction letter was to Deery Asset Holdings, which was the main company of the group. So AIB never fulfilled their obligations to Deery Asset Holdings, so therefore everything else falls down on the back of that.
Right, and so as a result of you not getting all the money you were promised from AIB to complete the nightclub, it was incomplete, and you weren't in a position to open up the nightclub, obviously, and to bring in revenue as a result. Is that what led to AIB? Did AIB call in the loan?
No, basically, because AIB after the crash would not come forward and fulfil the sanction letters. In conjunction with all the local tradespeople and suppliers, got the nightclub up and going on our own steam to be able to show AIB how successful the business could be. So by the time, basically, we funded what they should have. We funded what they should have funded, whilst waiting on them to complete the sanction letter. So that brought the business from 750,000 in 2009 up to nearly $500,000 in retained profits in 2012.
So at what point and why did AIB produce a deed of appointment? And as far as I know, a deed of appointment formalised the appointment of a receiver to take control of the property or manage the sale of the property. So at what point did AIB get involved and why?
Well, basically, AIB had been, as it turns, AIB put in a receiver on the 13th of May 2013. This was after 4 years of meetings with AIB. They had put in specialised accountants. The revenue had been in checking our books and records. And it was a last-ditch attempt by AIB to have us illegally removed, because it's quite clear now, with the fullness of time, that we needed to be removed to protect the West Tenor Arms Hotel, especially in the middle of the town, because it was our main competitor. It was controlled by Seamus and Frank McEnaney at the time. I had also handed intellectual property to Martin Slattery of AIB, and 2 weeks after our eviction, the intellectual property opened as Shifty Mulhairs at the West Tenor, not as Shorties, which it should have been at Master Deary's.
Now, who was the receiver appointed to Master Deary's in the Junction nightclub?
The receiver appointed was Grant Thornton Receivers in Dublin.
Here's the deed of appointment for this particular building. Okay? There's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to these 3 lines. Now, property, Park Street, Monaghan, County Monaghan, and all those place, shop and yard. Folks, this is the deed of appointment for the building I knocked to build this 25,000 square foot building. AIB hadn't fulfilled sanction letters. The paperwork is, there's no proper paperwork for these properties.
If everything was above board, the deed of appointment would be for the 25,000 square feet building that's there. But because AIB hadn't fulfilled their sanction letters, there wasn't a mortgage in place on the building, so the deed of appointment is null and void.
After having been forcibly evicted from the premises, you returned and regained possession at a later date and were subsequently arrested sometime thereafter. You were later found not guilty by a jury on 12 charges of trespass and causing criminal damage at Master Deary's on dates between the 24th of April and the 28th of August 2016. Tell us when you went to Foley's pub and why. Why was Foley's pub brought into it? First of all, when and why?
Basically, we went to Foley's because equipment belonging to Master Deary's has been removed and it's in Foley's. The intellectual package was also used in Foley's bar and upstairs in the lounge. That the same as the Shifty Mulhairs in plus Kieran Marin was on the paperwork for Foley's, and he created fraudulent documents to take me into the High Court. So therefore, that gave us a civil legal reason to be there, but they weren't going to allow it to stay civil because if we got a hold of that ship, it opened a can of worms around the country that others could see clearly. Then that possession is 9/10 of the law, and High Court civil issues can be overcome if you have the truth in your corner.
What happened as a result of what happened in Foley's? You were arrested, you faced some charges. Briefly, what were the charges, and is there an outcome to that?
Well, basically, we were arrested, myself, John Alcock, Paddy McAvoy, and Ray Moss. Then I was faced with assault. I was faced with kidnapping. I was faced with false imprisonment. I was faced with forcible entry. I was faced with organising other people to commit a crime, basically. And I was on remand in Cloverhill for approximately 23 months whilst waiting on a trial. And then when the trial arrived, the Gardaí withheld a briefcase of information from the jury, from the judge, and it turns out now also the DPP. So how can you get justice if the Gardaí couldn't put the truth on the table? So you didn't get
all the evidence you were looking for, and what was the outcome of that case? Were you found guilty of some of the charges? Or
I was found guilty of forcible entry, of obstructing a guard, and there was the other charge of advocating and encouraging people to act. Basically,
right. Okay, so then you were released. So remind us now just when you were released from prison for the last time and what you've got up to in the meantime. Why did you end back up in prison? So first of all, when did you get released last time?
Basically, I got released on the 10th of May 2024. I was released and I had given an undertaking not to go near any property belonging to Seamus McEnaney or say anything about Seamus McEnaney on social media. We then got a copy of that order from the court. That order said that I was to stay away from anything to do with Mr. McEnaney.
So they spelled his name wrong. It was a wrong name.
It was a completely wrong name. It just wasn't a miscalculation. They did not want to put Seamus McEnaney's name on an order. So then over the course of the summer, the chance, again, if people want to go to Independent Minds too on YouTube, they can find out more information. We then secured a property in Dublin that is connected to Seamus McEnaney, and it's the James Joyce house, which many people will know from what was in the Times. That house has been under civil occupation from the 28th of July, and there are people are residing in it. So, and the guards have come and gone a couple of times, and that's a civil matter.
Right.
So, but then we on the 25th of 4th of August. We went down to Monaghan to carry out the same process en masse to Deery. On the 25th of August, we returned. I wasn't at the property 10 minutes to an assortment of Gardaí came running in through McEnaney's bar, which is unlawful because they shouldn't have been coming in through someone else's property. They arrested me. I was taken to Monaghan station along with Killian Rush and Callan. We were then taken to Mullingar on Monday the 26th. The guards told a load of lies to get me in here. Again, you can go back. You can go to the Independent Minds too.
Okay, look, time is nearly up here. We have 1 minute left. Well, what were the charges? Why were you arrested from that from Monaghan again?
I was arrested for trespass.
Trespass. Now you also just said there you've took possession, or people have taken possession of another one of McEnaney's buildings on the Quays in Dublin, the James Joyce building. Nobody has been arrested for trespass in that case, okay?
No, none at all.
Okay.
The guards have come and gone and said it's a civil matter. Yeah.
Okay, so look at Feargal, you're going to be in prison now for another Christmas.
2nd of January is my next date.
Okay, well I encourage everybody to go along on January the 2nd to Cloverhill Prison Court and support you, Feargal. And I know it sounds strange to say, but I wish you a very happy Christmas. I know that's not going to be the case at all. You want to get home and see your wife and your kids and all that. And for a second Christmas, you're not going to do so. So look at
this is my fourth Christmas in jail over these corrupt entities that do not want to see the truth coming out, because it's going to have wider effects in relation to other properties that have been stolen around the country and other families that have been wronged in it. And there's people in every county that have been wronged, and that's quite clear now. That's quite clear now at this stage.
That was recorded from Cloverhill Prison just before Christmas. It was the fourth Christmas that Feargal Deery has spent in prison over a 10-year period in relation to this issue, totaling over 3 years imprisoned altogether. As Feargal said, he was imprisoned on that occasion for an alleged trespass. He was released from prison on the 5th of February and the trespass charge was dropped. Now he's due back in court, but this time not for trespass, but for an alleged breach of a court order. So Feargal is back up in court in the CCJ in Dublin on the 23rd of June, and I would encourage everybody please to share this video and try and get there on the 23rd of June to support Feargal.